Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So one of my Discord members sent me an interesting thread that was posted on 40k lore. I'll include that thread in the description of the video if you want to go and check it out for yourself. And it was basically asking which loyalist Primarchs survived the Siege of Terror and how and when they died, after the Siege of Terror. And there's a lot of interesting topics on that. And that has led me to make this video because I also want to discuss each Primarch and their so-called death. But I also want to talk about deaths in general towards Primarchs. Do Primarchs really die? Do they lose their soul? Does it get devoured by the great gods of chaos? Or does the Emperor protect them, keep them, and then use them after their death? So let's jump in and let's have a little talk. So I want to start with, can Primarchs truly die? Now we know the physical form of the Primarch can be destroyed. We saw what happened to Sanguinius, we saw what happened to Ferrus, we saw what happened to Conrad Kurz. Yes, there is debates about other Primarchs that have so-called have died and they're missing and stuff, but we'll get that later on in the video because there's a lot of theories and stuff about all that stuff. But plainly, the physical form of the Primarch can be destroyed. It can be killed. But what about the soul of a Primarch? Now, when the Emperor made the Primarchs, we all know he dabbled in the realms of chaos for their creation. Now, what does this mean for Primarchs then? Like, we know when you die, your soul goes to chaos and it gets devoured and everything like that. But what about a Primarch soul? Now, one of the biggest hints that we have that maybe a Primarch is saved by the Emperor is from the account of Rebooted Guilliman, and this is taken from the Dark Imperium book by Guy Haler, where Reboote fights Fulgrim, Fulgrim slices his throat, and then Guilliman is on the edge of death. So I'm going to read Guilliman's quote out right now. "Father," thought Guilliman, "save me." His hearts quivered one last time, drawing themselves in for the further beat that would not come. The voices of his sons sounded far away. Darkness enveloped him. His heart relaxed. The flow of blood ceased. He stood upon the precipice. A roaring, terrifying sea of souls haunted by the laughing of mad gods churned all around him, red and ugly. "Father!" Guilliman shouted, his voice free from the prison of his flesh. His sons could not hear him now, but he was heard. There was a cold golden light, and at the end to the pain, the roaring sea vanished. Sorrow engulfed his soul. Rebooted Guilliman was no more. So that passage of text is very, very interesting because there's a reference to a golden light that came to end the pain. The roaring sea vanished. It mentions it in that passage. Now, there's two theories what this could be. The first theory is, of course, it is the Emperor. The Emperor came and saved Reboote's soul and, took it with him wherever he went and, kept it safe, let's say. Now, the second theory I've seen posted, and I think it's the theory that I believe more than anything, is that the golden light that Reboote is referring to in that passage of text is not the golden light of the Emperor. It's actually the golden light of the stasis that he was put in. We all know because Guilliman was dying from the wound that he received of Fulgrim and the poison was spreading. He was put into stasis to stop him from dying in a deathless state, basically. Just like, the Emperor. Is he dead? Is he not dead? And Guilliman was put into that stasis. And that golden light could be a reference to the actual stasis coming in and trapping him in that state. Now, another piece of evidence that has been debated heavily across the interweb, so you've probably heard this before, is the presence of Ferrus Manus at the Siege of Terror. Now, this was taken from Aaron Dembski-Bowden's Master of Mankind book, and it's where the Emperor is fighting in the webway. This is from the point of view of a custodian called Ra, and apparently people are saying that the ghost of Ferrus Manus is summoned with the Emperor to fight the onslaught of demons. So this is the passage of text from that book. "Shapes raged in flamed shadows, and suggestions doing battles with demons, their fiery forms indistinct and ever-changing. The firstborn avatars of fallen 10,000, knee-deep in psychic fire and thrusting lances of flame. the silhouettes of space marines, the betrayed dead of Isvan, bearing axes and blades and claw, half-seen sigils of slaughtered legions obscured by the ash of their blackened armour. A giant among giants, its great hands bared and ready as it seared forward, the 10th son of a dying emperor, so briefly reborn in his father's immortalizing wrath. So you can see why there's a lot of discussion about that piece of text, because there is a lot of reference to Ferrus Manus. One being the betrayed dead of Isvan bearing axes, blades and claw. We know Isvan is where Ferrus met his end. A giant among giants, its great hands bared. Ferrus Manus is known to be a giant, and of course his hands are all irony and stuff, because that is what Ferrus Manus is known for. And the reference to the 10th son of a dying empire. Now, the Iron Hands are the 10th Legion, so that is in reference to the 10th son of that legion, which is, of course, Ferrus Manus. I personally think that when the body of a Primarch is destroyed, the physical body of a Primarch is destroyed, then the soul goes to a place where the Emperor can harness it. I believe, and I think this like the evidence in that passage of text for me states that the soul of a Primarch lives on, and the Emperor can use it as he so-called used Ferrus there. Now, I'm not saying that that is Ferrus, I'm just saying I'm presuming it to be Ferrus. Another really story we have set in 40k is Dante, and this can be interpreted in two ways, that it's Dante kind of having a vision, or it's Dante really just seeing things because he's so worn out. Now, at the devastation of Baal, he has like visions of Sanguinius where he wants to die. He's ready to die. You know, he has this massive battle. He's given it all, and he welcomes death. And he has this vision where Sanguinius basically says, "No, your duty is not done." And it's kind of emotional because it's like, "Father, you know, let me come with you. I want to be with you," kind of thing. You know, I'm ready to die. I've given everything. And he's like, "No, you still have more to give." Now, again, that can just be Dante seeing things, or that actually could be the psychic presence, the soul of Sanguinius still lingering around his son. The psychic presence and the souls are kind of two different things, I would say, because there is like a psychic presence of Sanguinius on the Vengeful Spirit, which is like a glass Sanguinius, which the Black Legionnaires always hit all the time and smash and laugh at and stuff. But yeah, that's probably another story for another day. But all in all, I personally do think that when the physical format of a Primarch does die, then the soul is just as powerful, and maybe it can be used in other means. Maybe this is why the Emperor completely destroyed Horus. From the old lore that we have, this may change with the upcoming Siege of Terror series when we finally get to the confrontation of the Emperor and Horus. The Emperor didn't just destroy the body of Horus, he destroyed the soul of Horus as well with his powers. Maybe he knew that the soul of Horus was corrupted, and for that to live on, maybe he could still be used. So that's why he destroyed the soul, because the souls are still a big part of Primarchs. Now, this leads us on to the next part of the video now about where are the Primarchs. I know I've covered this more in depth with certain little videos. This is not going to be a long one. We're just going to look at the list and just go through it all. So we're just going to start number one, which is the Lion. And we all know where the Lion is. He's asleep in the rock. He had this massive fight with Luthor. Luthor was endowed with chaos powers, let's say. And he was carried away by the Watchers, and he's hid on the rock, ready to be hopefully awakened sometime in the future. When it comes to the 11th Primarch, I'm not ever going to get into that or touch that. I don't think they'll ever come back. I think they will constantly be teased by GW, but I always see, Valrak, what's going to happen to the 11th Primarch? Will they make a return and stuff? No, I don't think they will. I think it's just there for you to make your own little legions, your own little fan stuff, and base it off them. I don't think we'll ever see anything from that. When it comes to the Primarchs that went traitor, so this is like, Fulgrim, Perturabo, Magnus, all those ones, we all know bar two of them, which was Horus and of course Kurz, they all went to become demonic Primarchs. You can argue that in a way they did die and they ascended to a different level of power. You know, the Primarchs that we knew are no longer there. They died and were reborn as traitor Primarchs. But the only two confirmed traitor Primarchs we know who have completely died is Kurz and Horus. Horus, of course, was mind blasted by the Emperor, and Kurz allowed himself to be cut down by the assassin. I've always said that only a Primarch can kill a Primarch, and of course the Emperor. And everyone says, no, what about Kurz? An assassin. An assassin killed Kurz Valrak. And my argument is, no, Kurz allowed himself to be killed off the assassin. So technically, a Primarch did kill Kurz. He killed himself because he allowed himself to be killed. So my argument is still is standing with that point of view. With Primarchs like Leman Russ, we know Leman Russ just basically went into the eye. Same with Corax. Corax and Leman Russ both went into the eye, but we have had further information about Corax. We had a short story where Corax basically turns up as like I want to say a warp monster, but he wasn't really a warp monster. He just embraced his chaos powers for good while he was in the warp, because he's hunting Lorgar and stuff. He's kind of like Shadow Batman at the moment, just completely killing everything in there just because he wants vengeance of what, you know, the chaos did and his brother's betrayal did to himself, his legion, and of course his father's ideals of uniting humanity. Leman Russ, on the other hand, I have completely no idea where he is. I still have faith that Leman Russ is alive. I still have faith that one day he will return, as he said during the final battle, let's say. Vulcan, we all know Vulcan is perpetual. The last time we saw Vulcan was during the Beast Arises saga, when the Orcs nearly took over the Imperium. I say took over the Imperium, they took over the bloody galaxy. And he was fighting one of the big Orcs, and he so-called sacrificed himself while killing one of the Orcs into that machine. But again, Vulcan is perpetual, so can Vulcan really die? Did he just return somewhere like, hey, you know, nothing happened, and he just went back to doing what Vulcan does? He just wants to be left alone. That's the premise I got from Vulcan, that he just wants a quiet life. The ideas that he fought along during the Crusade are dead. All his brothers are more or less dead, disappeared, they're not around, and he just wants to be left alone. Jagatai Khan, what we know of him, he got sucked into the webway, and that's the last we heard of him. Of course, there's been rumours, well, I say rumours, it's basically been us, the fans, been talking that he's probably fighting the Dark Eldar still. Maybe he's in like the pits of the Dark Eldar cities and stuff, and they're using him just as a gladiator. I don't think that is the case, because surely someone would have saw a Primarch. I still have faith that he is alive, because if he was dead, then I'm sure someone would have mentioned it if he was dead, like one of the Dark Eldar or Eldar or something like that. So I do have faith that Jagatai Khan is still alive, and one day he'll returning to us. Rogel Dawn is, of course, my Gene Father. Now, Rogel Dawn's story is interesting because in the Ian Watson Space Marine book, it mentions that his entire body is encased in amber. So he was confirmed to be officially dead. Recently now, they've changed that law to that he has gone missing, and the only thing that was found of Rogel Dawn was his hand, and it's his hand now that is like the sacred relic on board of the Phalanx, and all the chapter masters who become Imperial Fist inscribe their names onto this hand. For me, the way I see this about Rogel Dawn being retconned from being completely dead to MIA is just the way really Primarchs have really come out on the tabletop. When you sell Primarch models, when you mention Primarchs, it's big money, and I think they want to leave the mystery as open. So if it does come to a rainy day, let's say, and you know maybe they run out of story ideas or they want to make a little bit more moolah, then it always opens a door for a Primarch to return like Rogel Dawn. But then the argument is, where has Rogel Dawn been? I've done videos about this before, so I'm not going to get too into it. Maybe he was captured. That is one of my theories, that he's captured by Omegon, which we'll get into in a second. And he's keeping Dawn as the Imperium is descending into madness. So I'm just going to stay with that story. On the subject of Alferis and Omegon, you're probably saying, well, Valrak, you didn't mention that Alferis died as a traitor Primarch. Well, you don't really know who was Alferis and who was Omegon and who was traitor and who is still loyal. That one is still up in the air, but we do know that one of the brothers, Alferis or Omegon, whoever you want to say it, was killed by Rogal Dorn. He was killed at the moon of Pluto, if I'm not mistaken. Rogal Dorn chopped his hands off, then chopped his head off with his chainsaw. So yeah, that is another Primarch that has definitely been killed. And that's really it when you think about it. Like I said, most of the Primarchs that we know are still around, but the demonic Primarchs, the ones that are around now, of course, Rabute, who's leading the Imperium, and all the others are kind of will they, won't they return. I do think we'll be seeing more Primarchs return in the future. How and when is entirely up to Games Workshop. I would always argue that it's easier for them to bring back a traitor Primarch rather than a loyalist Primarch, because with loyalist Primarchs return, you've got all the politics added to it. When a traitor Primarch comes back, it's just like, oh, it's a traitor Primarch, they just want to kill things. Okay, let's just go and do that. Alright, Chaperonios, that is me done for another video. Thank you for coming, thank you for watching as always. I would love to get your thoughts and feedback on this. What do you think about Primarchs and death? Do you think when they die physically, do you think that is it, they actually do die? Or do you think that there's something else that happens to their soul and the Emperor protects them? Post it all down below and we can have a nice little chat down there as we always do. See you now, have a great day, and bye-bye.